You meticulously planned your entire week, and by Monday afternoon it has already fallen apart. The Roman Emperor Marcus Aurelius faced this same human struggle nearly 2,000 years ago, writing in his private meditations, "A blazing fire makes flame and brightness out of everything that is thrown into it." This is the core of a surprising ancient secret, the Stoic key to inner resilience. This journey will show you how true strength is not found in fighting every twist of fate, but in a specific kind of acceptance that transforms obstacles into fuel. We will explore powerful ideas like the dichotomy of control, which reveals what you can actually command, the profound practice of Amor Fati, which means loving your fate, and how cultivating virtue builds an unshakable inner core. By the end, you will possess a mental framework to not just endure life's chaos, but to thrive within it. What if the very things you resist are secretly forging your strength? The first step to resilience is realizing how much of your life you actually don't control. The ancient Stoic teacher Epictetus built his entire philosophy on a single, powerful distinction. He called it the dichotomy of control. Some things are up to us, he taught, and some things are not. What is up to us is remarkably small, yet incredibly powerful. Our own judgments, our impulses, our desires, and our aversions, everything else is not up to us. Our body is not entirely up to us. It gets sick and ages despite our best efforts. Our reputation is not up to us. It lives in the minds of others. External events, from the weather to another person's actions, are categorically beyond our command. This is not a pessimistic view, but a profoundly liberating one. The opening line of his Enchiridion, his manual for life, makes this crystal clear. He states, "Some things are in our control and others not." The immediate effect of truly understanding this is a dramatic reduction in frustration and anxiety. You stop wasting your finite energy on battles you were never equipped to win. Think about the last time you were stuck in an unexpected traffic jam. You likely felt a surge of frustration, maybe even anger. You pounded the steering wheel, you cursed the delay. But did your anger move the cars? Did your frustration clear the road? All it did was drain you, turning a simple external event into an internal storm. Or consider a project at work that you poured your heart into, only to have it cancelled by a decision from upper management. You cannot control that decision. But you can control your response to it. You can choose to see it not as a personal failure, but as a redirection of your skills. The Stoic insight is that our suffering does not come from the events themselves, but from our opinion of those events, from our desperate attempt to control what was never ours to control. So take a moment and ask yourself this. What are 3 things you worried about this week that were ultimately outside your complete command? Just recognizing that truth is the beginning of a quieter mind and a much stronger spirit. What if you did not just tolerate your misfortunes, but learn to love them? This is the radical invitation of Amor Fati, a powerful idea embraced by the philosopher Nietzsche, but with its heart deeply rooted in Stoic wisdom. Amor Fati translates to a love of one's fate. This is not passive resignation, where you simply grit your teeth and endure life's blows. It is an active, dynamic embrace of every single event, especially the difficult and unexpected ones, viewing them as absolutely necessary for your growth. The Stoics believed the cosmos is a rational and orderly whole, which means everything that occurs is part of an interconnected web. Nothing happens to you in a purely random, malicious sense, but rather, everything happens for your development if you choose to see it that way. Marcus Aurelius constantly reinforced this in his meditations, urging himself to see the good in what happens, even if that good is hidden. He wrote that the impediment to action advances action, and what stands in the way becomes the way. Seneca similarly championed this outlook, arguing that difficulties are not misfortunes at all, but the very things that reveal our strengths. He suggested we should greet our challenges like a sturdy sailor who knows that rough seas are not an obstacle to the journey, but an essential part of it. Consider the historical Stoic Cato the Younger. His unwavering opposition to Julius Caesar's rise led to his ultimate defeat and death. From a conventional standpoint, his life ended in catastrophic failure. Yet the Stoics did not see it that way. For them, Cato's death was not a tragedy but a triumph of virtue. He remained true to his principles against impossible odds, and his story became a timeless beacon of integrity, inspiring generations. His fate, though outwardly a loss, was a perfect expression of his character. In a modern parallel, think of an entrepreneur whose first startup fails spectacularly. They could see it as a humiliating defeat, a stain on their record. But with the spirit of Amor Fati, they choose to love that failure. They actively embrace it as the most crucial lesson of their career, the necessary experience that taught them about cash flow, team management, and market fit, lessons no business school could ever impart so deeply. This reframing transforms the failure from a tombstone into a cornerstone. So here is a challenge for you. Think of one recent event you labeled as bad. It could be a minor inconvenience or a larger disappointment. Now reframe it. Actively search for one potential benefit or lesson it contained. Did a cancelled plan give you unexpected quiet time to reflect? Did a professional rejection steer you toward a better opportunity you had not considered? The practice is not about pretending the event was pleasant, but about uncovering the hidden strength it offered. This is how you stop being a victim of your circumstances and start becoming the author of your resilience. While the Roman Empire was ravaged by plague and war, its emperor Marcus Aurelius did not retreat from his duties. He saw these monumental crises not as distractions from his philosophical studies, but as their ultimate testing ground. His personal journal, never intended for publication, reveals a man using chaos as his most effective teacher. This is the essence of the Stoic principle that the obstacle is the way. For the Stoics, an obstacle is never just a random piece of bad luck to be avoided. It is the very material we need to build our character. The same event, a sudden financial loss or a critical comment from a colleague, can be perceived in two completely different ways. One person sees a catastrophe, a reason to despair. Another sees a challenge, an opportunity to practice frugality or to examine their actions for truth. The event itself is neutral. It is our judgment, our perception, that assigns it meaning and power. Marcus Aurelius captured this transformative idea with stunning clarity when he wrote, "The impediment to action advances action." What stands in the way becomes the way. He understood that the barrier itself is not the end of the road, it is the road. It forces us to be more creative, more determined, and more resilient than we would have been on an easy path. Think about a modern job rejection. On the surface, it is a clear setback. You prepared, you interviewed, and you were turned down. The common reaction is dejection. But the Stoic response is to ask, how does this become the way? Perhaps this rejection protects you from a toxic work environment you could not see. Maybe it forces you to improve your skills, leading you to an even better position you had not yet considered. The obstacle of the rejection did not block your career. It actively shaped it for the better, if you have the perspective to see it, or consider a personal injury that sidelines an athlete. The obstacle is immense, a halt to their physical progress. Yet, this forced pause can become the way to developing incredible mental fortitude, a deeper understanding of their body, and a newfound empathy for others who struggle. The obstacle did not ruin them, it forged a more complete human being. So look at a current challenge in your own life. It might be a difficult relationship, a stressful project, or a personal goal that feels out of reach. Now reframe it not as a wall but as a doorway. Ask yourself this one question: how can this specific obstacle be used as a direct tool for my growth? What strength is it inviting me to develop that I have neglected? Your answer is the first step in walking the path that your obstacle has laid right at your feet. Stoic resilience comes from divorcing your self-worth from your outcomes. In a world obsessed with results, this idea feels almost radical, but it is the very heart of a tranquil mind. The Stoics made a crucial distinction between two types of things in life: virtues and what they called preferred indifference. Your virtue is your internal character, your integrity, your courage, your wisdom. This is the only true good, the only thing that is entirely up to you and worthy of your full pursuit. Everything else, from wealth and health to success and reputation, is a preferred indifferent. You can prefer to have them, but your core worth must never depend on them, because they are ultimately not in your complete control. Your goal is to act with excellence, to put forth your very best effort with the right intention. The result, however, belongs to fate. This mindset creates a profound liberation. It prevents the despair that follows what you label a failure, and it guards against the empty pride that often comes with what you call a success. Epictetus delves into this in his discourses, reminding us that we are troubled not by events, but by the judgments we bring to them. When you tie your happiness to an outcome you cannot command, you hand over your inner peace to the whims of chance. Think of an athlete who has trained with absolute discipline. They have eaten right, slept well, and practiced relentlessly. On the day of the competition, they execute their game plan flawlessly. Yet they still lose. The final score is against them. If their self-worth is tied to winning, this loss is a crushing personal defeat. But if their worth is tied to the integrity of their effort, to the courage they showed on the field, then the loss becomes a separate event. It does not define them. They can look at the scoreboard, acknowledge the result, and still hold their head high, knowing they controlled what was theirs to control. Their virtuous effort remains untarnished by an external outcome. This applies directly to your life. Recall a time you worked tirelessly on a project. You poured your energy into it, you did everything right, but the project was cancelled or your presentation was rejected. How did you handle it? Did you internalize that outcome as a verdict on your capability? A Stoic perspective would have you separate the two entirely. Your excellent preparation and dedicated work are your victory. The cancellation is an external event, a preferred indifferent that did not come to pass. Your virtue, demonstrated through your diligent effort, is the real success, and it is a success that no one can ever take from you. This cognitive shift does not make you passive, it makes you unstoppable because you are no longer afraid to try. Our daily struggles can feel like the center of the entire universe, but there is a profound Stoic exercise designed to shatter that illusion and restore a sense of calm proportion. Let us zoom out from our problems for a moment and look at the bigger picture. The Stoics called this practice the view from above. It is a mental meditation where you deliberately pull your perspective back, far beyond the confines of your own life. You start by imagining yourself from the ceiling of the room you are in. Then you pull back further, seeing your building, then your entire neighborhood from the sky. You continue visualizing your city as a mere map, your country as a shape, and the earth itself as a pale blue dot hanging in the immense blackness of space. From this cosmic vantage point, your life, your worries, and your triumphs are revealed in their true scale. They are incredibly small, yet perfectly part of a vast, interconnected whole. Marcus Aurelius was a master of this technique. In his meditations, he repeatedly used it to calm his mind amidst the pressures of ruling an empire. He would remind himself to frequently consider the connection of all things in the universe and their relationship to each other. He reflected on how all the bustling cities of his time were now mere specks of dust, and how the most famous people in history were quickly forgotten. This was not meant to make life seem meaningless, but to free him from the tyranny of small concerns. It allowed him to see his own brief life as a single stitch in the grand tapestry of fate, a tapestry whose beauty he could trust even when his own thread felt tangled. You can apply this right now. Think of a specific worry that is consuming you. Perhaps it is a tense argument with a coworker or anxiety over an unpaid bill. Now begin the view from above. See your own body in the room where you usually fret about this. Now pull your mind's eye upward through the roof. See your street with its cars and houses, all containing people with their own private universes of joy and fear. See your city, a patchwork of lights and roads. Keep going. See your country, then the entire spinning earth, a fragile ball of rock and water. From here, can you even locate your problem? That argument, that bill, has not vanished, but its weight has been recalibrated by the sheer scale of existence. It is now a tiny part of a magnificent, flowing system. The next time a problem feels overwhelming, gift yourself 60 seconds of this perspective. Close your eyes and take that mental journey upward. When you return, notice if the issue still holds the same absolute power over you, or if you now see it as a manageable part of a much larger and ultimately benevolent story. Before you react, there is a crucial moment of choice that Stoics train to master. This is the heart of the first and most fundamental of Epictetus' 3 disciplines, the discipline of assent. Every single day, your mind is bombarded with raw impressions from the world. An impression is not the event itself, but your mind's initial, automatic interpretation of it. It is that immediate, internal shout that says, "This is a disaster," or "That person meant to insult me." This raw impression is not truth, it is merely a suggestion. The power of assent is your ability to either approve that impression as fact or to pause and question it. When you automatically assent, you are hijacked by that initial thought. You grant it permission to dictate your emotions and your actions. The critical Stoic insight is that we are not disturbed by things, but by the views we take of them. The event itself is neutral until you assign it a value through your assent. Imagine you receive an email with critical feedback on a project you worked hard on. The first impression flashes, "This is terrible, I am a failure." If you assent to that immediately, you are flooded with shame and defensiveness. Your entire day might be ruined. But if you have trained in the discipline of assent, you create a tiny space between that impression and your reaction. You pause, you examine the thought. Is this truly a disaster, or is it one person's perspective? Is this proof I am a failure, or is it simply useful information that can help me improve? By withholding your immediate assent, you strip the impression of its emotional power. You transform a potential trigger into a piece of data. This is not about suppressing emotion, but about engaging your rational mind before your emotions run away with you. Your task is to practice this tomorrow. Choose one negative trigger, perhaps a frustrating comment or an unexpected delay. When it happens, consciously pause for just 5 seconds before you react. In that brief space, simply observe the initial impression without buying into it. Ask, is this thought completely true? That 5-second pause is the training ground for a lifetime of emotional resilience. Stoics are not pessimistic, they are prepared. This is the core truth behind one of their most powerful psychological tools, the Premeditatio Malorum, or the Premeditation of Evils. Far from being a gloomy exercise in fear, this is a deliberate practice of vaccination for the soul. By willingly confronting potential adversity in our minds, we build a profound immunity to the shock and despair it can cause in real life. The practice involves vividly imagining the loss of things we hold dear, not to invite misery but to disarm its power. Imagine, in clear detail, the sensation of losing your job, or the pain of a cherished relationship ending, or the fragility of your own health. By visiting this mental landscape voluntarily, you are not cursing yourself, you are building a shelter. When a storm you have already weathered in your imagination arrives at your door, it feels familiar, manageable, even expected. You have already felt the initial sting and rehearsed your resilient response. Seneca championed this practice relentlessly in his letters. He advised his friend Lucilius to set aside a certain number of days each month to live on the most meager food and the coarsest clothing. He wrote, "He who has anticipated the coming of troubles takes away their power when they arrive. The goal is to prove to yourself, through mental rehearsal, that the things we so deeply fear, from poverty to obscurity, are endurable." The philosopher was not trying to make life miserable in advance. He was demonstrating that our core self, our virtue, remains intact even when external comforts are stripped away. You can apply this today in a very practical way. Before a difficult conversation, spend a moment mentally rehearsing it going poorly. Imagine the other person becoming angry or rejecting your proposal entirely. Feel that initial jolt of disappointment, and then picture yourself responding not with anger or dejection, but with calm understanding and a clear plan to move forward. By doing this, you are not manifesting failure, you are building emotional callousness. You are ensuring that your peace does not depend on a specific, perfect outcome. Or consider a prized possession, perhaps a piece of technology or a family heirloom. Close your eyes and vividly imagine it being broken or lost. Sit with the feeling of loss for a full minute. Then open your eyes and look at the object again. Notice the surge of gratitude that rushes in, the renewed appreciation for its presence in your life. The Premeditatio Malorum does not take away the joy of having things, it strips away the anxiety of potentially losing them. So here is a challenge for you. Find a quiet moment and spend just 2 minutes imagining your life without one thing you take completely for granted. It could be your eyesight, your morning coffee, the stability of your home, or the presence of one specific person. Do not rush the exercise, truly feel the absence. When the 2 minutes are up, let that feeling of loss transform into a wave of gratitude for what you still, in this present moment, possess. This is how you turn fear into fortitude and entitlement into deep, unshakable appreciation. For the Stoics, accepting fate was never a blind leap, but a conscious trust in a universe governed by reason. They called this underlying, intelligent principle the logos. It is the divine reason that weaves through all of existence, the rational force that holds the cosmos together as a single, living, and purposeful whole. From this perspective, nothing is random or meaningless. Every single event, from a gentle rain to a devastating storm, serves a necessary function in the grand tapestry. This belief is what transforms acceptance from an act of gritted teeth to one of serene understanding. You are not resigning yourself to chaos, you are aligning yourself with a profound order. The Stoic philosopher Cleans captured this trust beautifully in his hymn to Zeus, writing, "Not one deed happens upon the earth without you, nor in the divine heavenly pole, nor upon the sea, except what bad men do in their own foolishness." He saw the universe itself as a manifestation of a benevolent, rational will. Marcus Aurelius constantly returned to this idea to steady his own mind. He would remind himself that whatever happens to you has been waiting to happen since the beginning of time, and that you are a part of the whole which must be preserved. He saw his own life, with all its pains and duties, as a single, necessary thread in a fabric of immense beauty. Think of it like watching a single, confusing scene from a movie completely out of context. A character might be suffering a terrible loss, or a seemingly good plan might be failing spectacularly. On its own, that scene feels like a tragedy. But when you see the entire film, you understand how that very scene was crucial for the character's growth, or how it set up a vital redemption later on. The painful scene was not a mistake by the director. It was an essential part of a coherent and ultimately good story. Your life is that movie. The logos is the director. The hardship you are enduring right now is that single, confusing scene. You cannot see the entire script, but you can trust that the director has a plan and that this moment is necessary for the narrative to unfold as it should. So how would your relationship with hardship change if you truly believed, in your core, that it was ultimately woven into a pattern for the good of the whole? Would you still fight against it with the same desperation, or could you begin to relax into the current, trusting that it is carrying you somewhere meaningful, even if you cannot yet see the shore? Stoics built their resilience on one unshakable foundation, that our character is the only thing that truly matters. Everything else we chase, from a comfortable life to the admiration of others, falls into a separate category the ancients called preferred indifference. You can prefer to be healthy, wealthy, and well-regarded. There is no virtue in seeking poverty or ill health, but your core worth, your resilience, must never be tied to these externals. Why? Because they are fickle, they are temporary, and they are ultimately not yours to command. Your moral purpose, however, your capacity for wisdom, courage, justice, and self-discipline, is a fortress that fate cannot storm. This is why the Stoic sage remains unassailable. The philosopher Epictetus, born into slavery and intimately acquainted with life's brutalities, put it perfectly. He is a wise man who does not grieve for the things which he has not, but rejoices for those which he has. The things he has, the only things that truly matter, are his virtues. His integrity is his wealth, his courage is his security, his wisdom is his compass. Imagine two individuals facing the exact same catastrophic event, the bankruptcy of their lifelong business. The first person has tied their entire identity and self-worth to their financial success. When the bank calls in the loan, their world collapses into despair. They see themselves as a failure, their life's work as wasted. Their resilience shatters because it was built on the sand of external fortune. The second person, guided by Stoic principles, also feels the sting of loss. They preferred the business to succeed, but their self-worth is rooted in their character. They look at the same disaster and ask a different set of questions. Did I act with integrity throughout this process? Did I treat my employees and partners with justice and fairness? Can I face this financial ruin with courage and temperance, without collapsing into self-pity or blame? For this person, the bankruptcy is not a verdict on their life, but the ultimate test of it. Their resilience does not break, it is proven. The loss of money becomes the gain of character. So look at the main challenge you are facing right now. It might be a strained relationship, a professional setback, or a personal fear. Now, set aside the desired outcome for a moment. Ask yourself this single, transformative question. What would virtue look like here? Not what would success look like, but what would it mean to face this situation with courage, to act with justice toward everyone involved, to apply wisdom to your next move, and to exercise self-control over your emotional reactions? Your answer is not a plan to change your circumstances, but a blueprint to build an inner citadel that no turn of fate can ever breach. To become unbreakable, Stoics did not avoid hardship. They invited it in small, deliberate doses. This is the practice of voluntary discomfort, a counterintuitive training regimen for the soul. Its purpose is twofold: to prove to your own psyche that you can endure far more than your fears suggest, and to shatter the subtle, comfortable chains of attachment that make you so vulnerable to fortune's whims. When you are deeply attached to your warm bed, your full stomach, and your predictable routine, the mere threat of losing those comforts can trigger profound anxiety. Voluntary discomfort is the antidote, a self-administered vaccine against the fear of loss. The Roman teacher Musonius Rufus was a staunch advocate, arguing that practicing poverty is the only way to truly become rich in spirit. He taught that by deliberately experiencing need, we conquer the fear of need itself. Seneca echoed this in his letters, advising his friend Lucilius to set aside days to wear coarse clothing, eat plain bread, and sleep on a hard bed. He wrote that we must learn to want ordinary things and to avoid fearing things that are merely unfamiliar. This was never about self-punishment or masochism. It was a practical exercise in freedom, designed to show you that your well-being is independent of your external conditions. The goal is not to live in perpetual hardship, but to ensure that your happiness remains intact even when life becomes hard. Modern life offers countless opportunities for this practice. You can choose to take a cold shower instead of a warm one, not for the potential physical benefits, but for the mental victory of willingly embracing a sensation you would normally avoid. You can skip a meal and sit with the feeling of hunger, observing the pangs without panic, proving to yourself that temporary hunger is not an emergency. You could even choose to sleep on the floor for a single night, to rediscover the simple truth that you do not need a perfect mattress to find rest. In each of these small acts, you are not seeking pain, you are seeking power, the power over your own reactions. You are building a reservoir of lived experience that whispers to you during real crises. You have been here before, you can handle this, so here is a direct challenge for the week ahead. Select one small, safe form of voluntary discomfort. It could be walking in cold weather without a jacket for a few minutes, turning off your entertainment for an evening to sit in quiet, or eating a very simple meal of plain rice and vegetables. Do not just go through the motions. As you do it, pay close attention to your internal state. Notice the initial resistance, and then the moment you realize you are okay. That moment when you transcend the desire for comfort is where your unbreakable core is forged. What tiny hardship will you invite into your life to prove your own strength? The Stoics kept a unique companion to guide their actions, the constant awareness of their own death. This practice, known as Memento Mori, was not a dark obsession with the end, but a brilliant tool to illuminate the present. Far from being morbid, it was their method for injecting vibrant urgency and profound meaning into every single day. The core idea is that by regularly remembering our finite time, we are jolted into prioritizing what is truly essential and releasing our grip on trivial worries. It is the ultimate act of accepting fate, embracing the one certainty that binds every human life. Marcus Aurelius framed this with striking clarity in his private journal, writing, "You could leave life right now. Let that determine what you do and say and think." He was not promoting anxiety, but a powerful filter for decision-making. When you internalize that today could genuinely be your last, the background noise of life suddenly falls away. The petty argument, the desire for superficial approval, the fear of a minor embarrassment, these things lose their power over you. They are exposed as the distractions they are, making space for what actually matters. Acts of kindness, moments of genuine connection, and the pursuit of virtue. Imagine a Stoic beginning their morning. Before planning their day, they would take a moment to consciously remember, I am mortal. This is not a depressing thought, but a focusing one. It immediately asks the question, if this were my final day, how would I want to spend it? Would I waste hours scrolling through social media, or would I finally have that important, kind conversation with a family member? Would I fret over a critical comment, or would I pour my energy into work that feels meaningful? This awareness shifts your entire orientation from passive existence to active, intentional living. It fosters a deep and immediate gratitude for the simple fact of your existence, for the coffee in your cup and the sky outside your window. So here is a challenge for you, a question to sit with in the quiet of your own mind. If you knew with certainty that you had 1 month left to live, what would you stop doing immediately? Perhaps you would stop people-pleasing or chasing hollow victories or holding onto old grudges. And just as importantly, what would you start? Maybe you would start writing those letters, taking those walks, or finally saying, I love you without reservation. Your honest answers are not a to-do list for a hypothetical end, but a compass for the life you are living right now. A reed survives the storm not by fighting the wind, but by bending. This graceful flexibility is the heart of a crucial Stoic skill, the art of acquiescence. Acquiescence is not passive surrender or a sign of weakness. It is an active, intelligent choice to stop fighting reality and to channel your energy where it can actually make a difference. It is the practical application of the dichotomy of control in motion, a conscious decision to yield to what you cannot change so you can focus your power on what you can. Epictetus gave us the perfect formula for this. He said, make the best use of what is in your power and take the rest as it happens. Notice the active verbs, make the best use. This is not about giving up, it is about strategically deploying your efforts. You take the rest as it happens, not with bitter resignation, but with the calm understanding that some events are simply part of the natural flow of life. Consider the traveler whose flight is suddenly cancelled. They have 2 clear paths. The first is to rage at the airline counter, to argue with the gate agent, to fume in frustration. This path consumes immense emotional energy and changes absolutely nothing about the cancelled flight. The second path is the art of acquiescence. The traveler takes a deep breath, accepts the cancellation as a present moment fact, and then makes the best use of what is in their power. They calmly rebook their ticket, they find a quiet corner to catch up on work, or they use the unexpected time to call a loved one. The obstacle of the delay has not vanished, but their relationship to it has transformed from a battle into an opportunity. Their inner peace remains intact because they are no longer wasting their strength on a futile struggle against the unchangeable. So where in your own life are you playing the part of the rigid oak straining against a gale? Identify one situation where you find yourself resisting reality. It might be a personal habit of a family member you cannot change, a company policy you disagree with, or a global event that troubles you. Now ask yourself this: what would graceful acquiescence look like in this scenario? It does not mean you approve of the situation. It means you stop exhausting yourself by pushing against an immovable wall. It means you consciously decide to bend like the reed, conserving your precious inner resources for the things your efforts can actually influence. That single shift from resistance to acceptance is where you reclaim your power and find your footing in any storm. 2 people get caught in the same rainstorm. One is miserable, the other is refreshed. Why? The rain itself is just water falling from the sky. It is a neutral event. The entire difference in their experience comes from the judgment each person places upon it. The first person thinks, this is ruining my day. The second thinks, this is refreshing and cleansing. This simple scenario holds the key to a profound Stoic truth that Epictetus articulated nearly 2,000 years ago. He said, "Men are disturbed not by things, but by the views which they take of them." Your suffering and your resilience are not manufactured by external circumstances. They are forged in the silent, private space between what happens and how you choose to interpret it. This is the very heart of Stoic psychology. An event occurs. Before you even have a chance to react, your mind rushes to label it. You slap a sticker on it that says good, bad, or catastrophic. That label, that judgment, is what then triggers the flood of emotion. The event itself is powerless until you grant it that power. Think about a common traffic jam. The car in front of you stops and the line of vehicles grinds to a halt. That is the event. Now, two different judgments can arise. One person immediately thinks, "This is a disaster. It is ruining my schedule and making me late." This judgment triggers frustration, stress, and anger. Their body tenses, their mood darkens, and they spend the next 20 minutes in a self-created hell. Another person, faced with the exact same immobile cars, forms a different judgment. They think, "This is an unexpected pocket of time. It is a chance to listen to that audiobook I have been wanting to hear, or to simply be alone with my thoughts for a moment." This judgment leads to calm acceptance or even mild enjoyment. The external event did not change. The only thing that changed was the internal story told about it. Your power resides entirely in your command over that story. So here is a practical exercise for building that command. Think of one recent event you automatically labeled as negative. Perhaps a last-minute change to your plans or a piece of constructive criticism. Now, take out a piece of paper or just pause for a moment and write down 3 different, more neutral or even positive judgments you could have made about that exact same situation. If your plan was cancelled, could the judgment be, "This gives me an unexpected evening of rest"? If you received criticism, could the judgment be, "This is valuable data to help me improve"? By consciously practicing this reframing, you are not denying reality. You are exercising your sovereign right to choose the meaning of your life, one judgment at a time. The Stoics had a simple phrase they added to their plans to protect their peace of mind. This linguistic hack for resilience is known as the reserve clause. It is the practice of mentally tagging any goal or intention with a silent acknowledgement, such as fate permitting or God willing. You state your aim clearly, but you simultaneously acknowledge that its fulfillment ultimately rests on a web of circumstances you do not command. This is not a disclaimer born of doubt, but an act of humility that pre-accepts reality, building a buffer against disappointment before it can even form. Seneca championed this idea in his letters, advising that we should undertake all actions with a reservation. He wrote that we must plan our lives without assuming that our plans will not be interrupted, and we should say that we will do a thing if nothing happens to prevent it. This single mental habit does 2 powerful things at once. It fuels your effort with clear intention, while it detaches your inner peace from the final outcome. You run the race as if victory depends entirely on you, yet you hold the result as if it does not matter to your core worth. Consider a modern goal like aiming for a promotion. You can pour all your energy into the pursuit, working late, taking on extra projects, and preparing meticulously for the interview. The reserve clause means you do all this while holding in your heart the quiet phrase, "I will secure this promotion if nothing outside my control prevents it." What lies outside your control? A sudden company-wide hiring freeze, a decision-maker's personal bias, another candidate with a unique connection you could never have anticipated. By adding this clause, you are not weakening your resolve, you are strengthening your sanity. You are preparing your mind to receive any outcome, not as a personal verdict, but as a simple event in the flow of life. Your excellent effort remains your victory regardless of the external result. For your next significant plan, try this simple experiment. Before you take the first step, frame it silently with your own version of the reserve clause. I will launch this creative project, fate permitting. I will have that difficult conversation if nothing interferes. As you move forward, notice if that small mental shift loosens the grip of anxiety. Does it free you to focus on the quality of your action, rather than fixating on a prize that was never truly yours to promise? A single leaf does not fight the turning of the season. It changes color, releases its grip, and falls, becoming part of the soil that nourishes the very tree it came from. This natural cycle is a perfect mirror for the Stoic principle of sympatheia, the profound understanding that all things in the cosmos are woven together into a single, rational, and interconnected whole. Your life is not an isolated event happening to the universe, but a vital thread actively participating within it. When you grasp this, personal misfortune begins to lose its bitter personal sting. It feels less like a targeted attack and more like a necessary movement in a vast, beautiful symphony. Marcus Aurelius constantly returned to this vision to steady his soul. He wrote that what brings no benefit to the hive brings no benefit to the bee. Your own well-being is inextricably linked to the health of the whole system. He also reflected on how all things are intertwined and how a sacred bond unites them. Nothing is truly isolated, and nothing happens that does not have a rippling, purposeful effect throughout the entire web of existence. Think of a player on a basketball team who sets a devastating pick, a selfless move that stops an opponent in their tracks. In that moment, the player sacrifices their own chance to score, perhaps even taking a hard physical hit. From a narrow, individual perspective, this looks like a loss, but within the context of the team, this single act of sacrifice creates the opening for a teammate to drive to the basket and score the winning points. The individual's misfortune was, in fact, the team's triumph. Or consider a forest ecosystem. A great old tree falls in a storm. It seems like a tragic end, a loss of something majestic. But as it decays, it becomes a nursery for new seedlings, a home for insects, and food for fungi. Its death is not a failure, it is a transformation that sustains the entire forest community. Your own struggles operate on this same principle. The job you lost might have been the necessary push that cleared space for a new career path that aligns with your true purpose. A path that will eventually allow you to contribute to the world in a way you cannot yet foresee. The difficult conversation that caused you such anxiety might have planted a seed of understanding in another person that will blossom into a positive change for their entire family. You are like that leaf, that player, or that fallen tree. Your current challenge, as painful as it feels, is almost certainly serving a function in a larger story you are not yet meant to read in full. So take a quiet moment and contemplate one specific struggle you are facing right now. However large or small it may be, ask yourself this. In what unseen way could this difficulty possibly be serving a larger good? How might this very obstacle be secretly strengthening the hive, even as it feels like a sting to you, the bee? Your honest reflection is the first step toward seeing your place not as a victim of the universe, but as a vital, contributing part of its grand and intelligent design. The Stoics believed everyone possesses an unassailable inner fortress that no external event can ever truly breach. They called this the inner citadel. It is not a physical place, but the core of your being, your sovereign faculty of judgment and choice. Inside its walls, you are the sole ruler. Your character, your integrity, and your capacity for virtue reside here, completely insulated from the chaos of the outside world. Tyrants could imprison the body of a Stoic, Poverty could strip away their possessions, and illness could rack their flesh. But none of these forces could ever penetrate this sanctuary without their own voluntary consent. Your inner citadel remains inviolable as long as you guard the gates of your own mind. Marcus Aurelius frequently described this mental retreat in his private writings. He would remind himself that men seek retreats for themselves in the country or by the sea, but this is altogether unphilosophical, for you have the power to retire into yourself at any hour you wish. Nowhere can a person find a more peaceful and trouble-free retreat than in their own soul. This was his ultimate refuge, a place he could enter amidst the pressures of war and plague to reconnect with his own reason and find unshakable self-reliance. Consider two contrasting figures. One is a person living in material comfort, surrounded by every luxury, yet they are a prisoner inside their own head. Their mind is a fortress under siege by anxiety, jealousy, and resentment. They have locked themselves in a comfortable cell of their own negative thoughts. Now picture the philosopher Seneca, banished to the barren island of Corsica by the Emperor Claudius. Externally, he had lost everything: his home, his status, his friends in Rome. Yet, in his letters from exile, he writes not of despair but of freedom. He used his isolation to deepen his studies and his writing, declaring that a wise man carries his possessions with him. His body was confined, but his inner citadel was more expansive and free than ever. His circumstances were a prison, but his mind was not. So, take a moment and visualize your own inner citadel. Close your eyes if it helps. What does it look like in your mind's eye? Is it a stone fortress on a high cliff, weathered by storms but standing firm? Is it a quiet, sunlit garden where you can hear your own thoughts? Now ask yourself what values guard its gates. Is it courage that stands watch, allowing only resilient thoughts to enter? Is it wisdom that surveys the horizon, discerning what is within your control from what is not? This mental stronghold is your birthright, and its strength depends entirely on what you choose to let past its walls. We often wish for an easy life, but the Stoics knew that an easy life builds a weak person. A comfortable existence, free from hardship, might seem like the ultimate goal, yet it provides no friction to strengthen our inner core. It is in the struggle against resistance that our true character is forged. Much like a sword must be tempered in fire and hammered on an anvil to hold its edge. The Stoics saw fate's challenges not as punishments to be avoided, but as the essential training ground for the soul. Your courage cannot be developed in the absence of fear. Your patience cannot be cultivated without frustrating delays. Your wisdom remains a shallow theory until it is tested by real-world confusion and pain. The difficulties you face are not interruptions to your journey. They are the very path itself, your personal gym for building spiritual muscle. Seneca captured this perfectly with his powerful analogy of the sailor. He wrote that a skilled pilot is not judged by sailing on a calm, placid sea. His expertise is proven and refined in the midst of a howling gale. It is the storm that reveals his skill, his courage, and his resilience. The same is true for each of us. A life of perpetual calm does not reveal who we are. It only allows us to remain who we have always been. It is when the winds of misfortune howl and the waves of adversity crash against us that we discover our own capacity to navigate, to endure, and to hold our course. The storm is not your enemy. It is your most demanding and effective teacher. Consider the life of the Stoic philosopher Epictetus himself. He was born into slavery, his body permanently injured by a cruel master. His external circumstances were defined by powerlessness and physical suffering. Yet, it was precisely within these brutal constraints that he forged one of the most liberating philosophies in human history. His adversity did not break him. It became the anvil upon which he hammered out his profound insights on inner freedom. He could not control his status as a slave, but he could absolutely command his judgments about it, his responses to it, and the integrity with which he endured it. His hardships were the fire that purified his understanding of what truly lies within our power. Now, bring this into your own life. Think back to a significant difficulty you have faced and overcome. It could be a period of financial strain, a painful breakup, a health scare, or a professional failure. Look past the immediate pain of that memory and ask yourself, what did that struggle force me to develop? Make a mental list of 3 strengths you gained from that experience. Perhaps you discovered a resilience you never knew you possessed. Maybe you learned the profound value of humility, or you developed a deeper empathy for others who suffer. That hardship was not a meaningless scar on your past. It was the necessary fire that tempered your spirit into something stronger and more capable than it was before. Your history of adversity is not a record of damage. It is the living proof of your growth. We tend to be tossed between the highs of success and the lows of failure. Stoicism offers an anchor in this turbulent sea, a state of unshakable calm known as apatheia. This is not the emotionless apathy we might think of today, but a profound inner steadiness, a clear-minded peace that remains undisturbed by the shifting winds of external fortune. The Stoic ideal is to meet both prosperity and hardship with the same composed and rational mind, because both are ultimately indifferent to your core worth. Your true value lies not in what happens to you, but in the virtue of your character, which remains constant whether you are celebrated or criticized. Seneca captured this balanced approach perfectly when he advised that we should receive prosperity without arrogance and adversity without dejection. He understood that both conditions are temporary and that our equanimity must be rooted in something deeper and more permanent than our present circumstances. This is the essence of seeing success and failure as preferred and dispreferred indifference. You can welcome one and work to avoid the other, but you must never let either one dictate your inner state or your self-esteem. Consider a public figure who has experienced both immense popularity and a major public scandal. The one who embodies this Stoic ideal does not become arrogant or defined by their fame, understanding it is fickle and largely outside their control. Then, when the scandal breaks, they do not collapse into shame or defensiveness. Instead, they meet the crisis with the same dignity they showed in success. They focus on what is within their control, their honest response, their accountability, their commitment to making amends, and their unwavering integrity through the storm. Their composure is not a performance. It is the natural result of a self-worth that was never built on public opinion in the first place. Now, bring this into your own life. Think back over the last week and identify one clear win and one clear loss. It could be as simple as receiving a compliment and then later receiving a piece of criticism. On a scale of 1 to 10, with 10 being an intensely emotional reaction, how high did you rate your excitement or pride from the win, and how high did you rate your disappointment or frustration from the loss? Now imagine what it would feel like to experience both of those events at a 5, not with numbness but with a calm, observant acknowledgement. You would notice the good event, appreciate it, and then return to your center. You would notice the difficult event, learn from it, and then return to that same center. Your inner peace would no longer be a hostage to fortune's roller coaster, and you would find yourself standing on solid ground, no matter what the world throws your way. Before sleep, Stoics performed a simple but powerful ritual to process the day and prepare for the next. This nightly review was their way of closing the mental ledger, a quiet debrief for the soul. Seneca vividly described his own version of this practice in his essay on anger. He wrote that he would question himself each night, asking, "What evils have you cured today? What vices have you resisted? In what way are you better?" This was never meant to be a session of harsh self-criticism or guilt. It was a calm, objective audit, a method to measure the distance between his actions and his virtuous ideals, and to gently close that gap. The goal was to align himself more closely with nature and reason, accepting the day's events while learning from them. The review typically centered on 3 core questions, asked with a spirit of gentle curiosity rather than judgment. What did I do well today in accordance with virtue? Where did I stumble or fail to live up to my principles? And most importantly, what could I do better tomorrow? Imagine a hypothetical review of a challenging workday. You might first acknowledge what you did well. Perhaps you handled a difficult client with patience instead of reacting with irritation, a clear exercise of the discipline of assent. That is a victory for your character. Then you examine where you failed. Maybe you assented too quickly to the impression that a colleague's brief email was a personal slight, and you spent an hour feeling resentful before realizing you had misinterpreted the tone. You see the moment you granted that impression power, and you note it without self-flagellation. Finally, you plan for improvement. You decide that tomorrow, when you feel that initial sting of perceived criticism, you will pause and apply the reserve clause, reminding yourself that another person's mood is not within your control. Your only task is to respond with integrity. This practice transforms a chaotic day into a series of lessons, each one a stepping stone toward greater inner resilience. The day's irritations and setbacks lose their power to haunt you because you have already processed them, learned from them, and released them. So here is an invitation. For the next 3 nights before you drift off to sleep, give this Stoic review a try. Do not make it complicated. Simply lie in the dark and ask yourself those 3 questions. Pay special attention to your reactions to events beyond your command. How did you respond to that traffic jam, that cancelled plan, that unexpected criticism? Did you fight reality, or did you practice the art of acquiescence? This brief ritual is how you actively sculpt your character, turning daily friction into the polish for a more resilient and tranquil mind. What if every twist of fate, especially the painful ones, was a lesson assigned by a cosmic teacher? This shift in perspective transforms fate from a tormentor into a demanding but brilliant instructor, one whose curriculum is designed solely to build your inner strength. Instead of railing against a cruel master, you begin to see a wise tutor presenting you with the exact challenges you need to grow. Your suffering is not a punishment, but a personalized syllabus for developing wisdom, courage, and justice. The question you ask in the face of hardship completely changes. You stop pleading, "Why is this happening to me?" and you start inquiring, "What is this trying to teach me?" This single shift moves you from a passive victim to an active student of life. The Stoic teacher Epictetus offered a powerful analogy for this. He said that difficulties are like a tough trainer wrestling with an athlete. At the moment, the wrestling feels brutal and unfair. The athlete is being thrown to the mat, their muscles are straining, and they are being pushed to their absolute limit. But the athlete does not accuse the trainer of cruelty. They understand that this rigorous, uncomfortable struggle is the very process that forges their strength, their endurance, and their skill. The trainer is not an enemy, but the most valuable ally in their development. In the same way, fate's harshest lessons are your personal trainer, building your resilience through direct and demanding practice. Consider a sudden financial loss. On the surface, it feels like a catastrophe, a random blow from an uncaring universe, but reframed as a lesson, what might it be teaching? This hardship could be a masterclass in the Stoic virtue of temperance. It forces you to examine your relationship with money, to distinguish between wants and true needs, and to find contentment and security within yourself rather than in your bank account. The loss becomes a practical workshop in building a life that is rich in character, not just in possessions, or take the deep sting of a betrayal by someone you trusted. The immediate pain is real and searing, yet as a lesson, this event might be teaching the vital skill of discernment. It is not about becoming cynical or closing your heart, but about learning to see people more clearly, to understand their motivations, and to place your trust more wisely. The betrayal becomes a difficult but necessary lesson in building healthier, more authentic relationships grounded in justice and clear-eyed understanding. So look at one specific challenge you are facing right now. It might be a source of constant stress at work, a recurring conflict in a relationship, or a personal goal that feels perpetually out of reach. Take a moment and write down one single lesson this situation might be trying to teach you. Is it a lesson in patience, perhaps, forcing you to slow down and trust a process you cannot rush? Is it a lesson in courage, asking you to finally speak your truth or set a difficult boundary? Or is it a lesson in letting go, showing you the futility of trying to control what was never yours to command? Your answer is the first step in graduating from a student of suffering to a master of your own resilience. The Stoics understood that the past is a cancelled check. It's gone, and clinging to it only bankrupts the present. That finalized moment, whether it was yesterday or 10 years ago, now sits squarely in the one category we have absolutely no power over, the things not up to us. We cannot relive it, we cannot undo a single word or action. Our only choice, and it is a choice, is what we do with the memory of it right now. Acceptance here is not about approval. It does not mean you condone a wrong that was done to you or that you excuse a foolish mistake you made. It is the simple, sober acknowledgement of a fixed fact. The event is over. Your suffering continues only because you keep writing its story in your mind, editing the scenes you wish had played out differently. Marcus Aurelius offered a weapon for this very struggle, advising himself not to be disturbed by the future, for you will meet it with the same weapons of reason you use today. We can adapt this brilliant insight for the past. Do not let the past disturb you. You meet its memory with the same reason and virtue you possess in this present moment. The past has no power to harm you unless you grant it a vote in your current decisions. Imagine a specific regret, perhaps a financial investment that turned sour. You replayed the moment you signed the papers 1,000 times, each mental replay costing you more sleep and more peace. The Stoic process is to first extract the lesson with surgical precision. What did this teach you about risk, about trust, about your own impulses? The lesson is the only valuable thing left in that past event. Once you have it, you perform a mental ritual of release. You take the entire bulky file of that memory, the shame, the anger, the what-ifs, and you consciously visualize burning it. Watch the pages curl and blacken into ash. The lesson is now a part of your wisdom, but the emotional weight is gone, returned to the indifferent universe from which it came. So here is a challenge for you, a quiet ritual of your own. Bring to mind one specific regret you have carried like a stone in your pocket. It does not need to be monumental. A harsh word spoken, an opportunity missed, a trust broken. First, ask with calm curiosity, what is the single most important lesson this event embedded in me? Then, in your mind's eye, take that stone out of your pocket. Feel its weight one last time, acknowledge its presence, and then set it down on the ground behind you. You do not need to carry it any further. Your path forward is always lighter when you travel with only the lessons and not the baggage. We waste immense energy trying to change people, Stoicism offers a more peaceful path by extending the same acceptance we give to fate directly to the people in our lives. Just as we cannot command the weather, we cannot fundamentally control the actions, beliefs, or character of another human being. Their nature, their ingrained habits, and their flawed judgments are part of the universal logos, the same rational web that governs all things. Our task, then, is not to reshape them to our liking, but to manage our own reactions and uphold our own virtue in response to them. Marcus Aurelius constantly trained himself in this difficult art. He wrote in his private meditations that when faced with an annoying person, he would remind himself that such people exist, and that to expect otherwise is like being shocked that a fig tree produces figs. He saw these difficult interactions not as personal offenses, but as divinely placed obstacles for his own training in patience, tolerance, and understanding. Consider a family member whose political views always lead to tense, frustrating arguments at gatherings. You have tried for years to reason with them, to present facts, to change their mind, all to no avail. This struggle drains you and poisons your time together. The Stoic approach is to accept that this person, with their own life experiences and judgments, holds these views. Your power does not lie in changing their mind, which is outside your control, but in changing your own internal response. You can set a firm internal boundary, deciding beforehand not to engage in the debate. You can practice the discipline of assent, noticing the initial impression of anger when they speak, and choosing not to approve it. You can even see the interaction as a gym for your patience, actively working to listen without reacting, to maintain your composure and kindness regardless of their words. Your virtue remains untarnished and your peace of mind intact because you have stopped trying to win a battle you were never meant to fight. So think of one person you frequently find yourself trying to change. It might be a perpetually late friend or a critical colleague. Now, for a moment, consider what it would feel like to fully accept them exactly as they are. This does not mean you approve of their behavior or that you abandon healthy boundaries. It simply means you release the exhausting burden of trying to force them into a different mold. How much lighter would you feel if you could meet them without that agenda, interacting only with what is truly within your power, your own judgment, your own response, and your own unwavering character? After all this, the Stoic secret to resilience boils down to a single point in time, right now. Every tool we have explored, from the dichotomy of control to the love of fate, finds its only possible point of application in the eternal present. The past is a locked archive, its events immutable and beyond your reach. The future is a story yet to be written, its details hidden in the mists of uncertainty. But this moment, the one you are breathing in right now, is the one place where your will and the world's events actually meet. It is the only arena where you can exercise your choice, your judgment, and your virtue. This is the ultimate synthesis of Stoic wisdom, the realization that resilience is not built in yesterday's regrets or tomorrow's anxieties, but forged in the quality of your attention and action in the immediate now. Seneca saw our chronic neglect of the present as the great thief of life itself. He lamented that we are not given a short life, but we make it short, and we are not ill-supplied but wasteful of time. He observed how we push the present into the future, always chasing what is next while the moment we actually possess slips through our fingers. The person who is truly resilient understands that the present is not a stepping stone to some future happiness. It is the very ground upon which a meaningful life is built. Picture two people washing dishes. The first is lost in a storm of thought, replaying an awkward conversation from yesterday and dreading a difficult meeting tomorrow. Their hands move automatically, but their mind is anywhere but here. They are draining their energy on phantoms, on events they cannot change and outcomes they cannot guarantee. The second person is simply washing the dishes. They feel the warmth of the water on their skin. They notice the shimmer of the soap bubbles, and they focus on the simple, virtuous act of creating order from chaos. They are fully present, and in that presence they are utterly unassailable. The first person is building anxiety, the second is building resilience. Your own life is filled with these mundane opportunities to practice. The next time you find your mind spiraling into the past or future, gently guide it back to the single point of control you actually possess. Notice the feeling of your feet on the floor. Pay full attention to the person speaking to you. Immerse yourself completely in the task directly in front of you, no matter how small. This is not avoidance, it is the most powerful form of engagement. So here is a direct challenge for the next hour. Whatever you are doing, commit to doing it with your full, undivided attention. When you catch your mind wandering to a past regret or a future worry, do not judge yourself. Simply note the departure and guide your focus back to the sensations, the actions, and the people of your immediate reality. This simple, repeated act of return is the practice that builds an unshakable home in the only time you will ever truly have. All these practices lead to one ultimate goal for the Stoic: to live in harmony with nature itself. This phrase, living according to nature, was the bedrock of their entire philosophy, but their definition of nature was twofold. It meant living in accordance with our own human nature, which is our capacity for reason and virtue, and it meant aligning our individual will with the cosmic nature, the rational, providential force of the logos that guides the entire universe. To accept fate, then, is the ultimate act of this alignment. It is to willingly and joyfully play the part that the cosmos has assigned to you in its grand, unfolding story. The founder of Stoicism, Zeno, defined the goal of life simply as living in agreement with nature. His successor, Cleans, expanded this, seeing the universe itself as a divine and rational being whose will we should strive to mirror. When your small, individual reason synchronizes with the vast, cosmic reason, you achieve eudaimonia, a state of true human flourishing that is immune to the ups and downs of external fortune. Think of it like a dancer moving with a piece of music. The music is fate, the logos, with its own rhythm, melody, and unexpected changes. You have two choices. You can fight against the music, trying to force a different rhythm, stumbling and struggling with every beat that does not match your expectation. This is the root of our suffering, resisting the tune that is actually playing. Or you can learn to flow with the music. You can listen deeply to its structure, understand its patterns, and move with a grace that turns even a sudden, dissonant chord into a beautiful, expressive gesture. Your virtuous response is your dance, your courage, your wisdom, your justice. These are the graceful steps you choose within the composition provided by fate. The music is not yours to compose, but your dance is your ultimate contribution to its beauty. So here is the final, big question to sit with. When you look at the composition of your own life, with all its unexpected tempos and surprising key changes, are you dancing with the music of the cosmos, or are you standing on the sidelines, trying to play a completely different tune? Your journey through these ancient ideas reveals a single, transformative truth. Accepting fate through Stoic principles is not a surrender. It is the master key to unlocking an unshakable inner resilience. You began by drawing a firm line with the dichotomy of control, learning to focus your precious energy only on what is truly yours to command, your judgments and your actions. You then encountered the radical love of Amor, Fati, learning to embrace every event as a necessary part of your growth. You gained perspective with the view from above, seeing your life as a small but vital part of a vast, interconnected cosmos. And you discovered that your only true possession is your virtuous character, the inner citadel that fortune cannot storm. This entire path leads to a profound and enduring serenity. The Stoic teacher Epictetus offered the perfect summary of this peaceful strength. He said, "Make the best use of what is in your power and take the rest as it happens." This simple statement holds the promise of immense courage and unshakable calm. Your challenges are no longer punishments from a hostile universe. They are your personal training ground, the very opportunities you need to practice these principles and actively build your resilience brick by brick. Every difficulty is now an invitation to strengthen your inner fortress, so the path forward is clear. The philosophy is in your hands. We would love to hear which Stoic idea resonated most with you on your own journey. Share in the comments one principle you will implement this week, whether it is practicing the reserve clause or taking a moment for the view from above. If you found this guide valuable, subscribe for more ways to build a life of purpose and resilience. Your story of strength is just